Welcome to a look at the different kind of email marketing programs that you can go with. There's so many out there. So we're going to look at four very specific ones. I'm Dante St. James, and I'd like to give you a bit of a soft entry into the world of email marketing, because I'm sure a lot of people could give you a lot of information about these things, and people have got very strong opinions about which system's the best, which system's the fastest, which system is going to help you to grow your business faster than anyone else. But it's not going to be like that today. I think all systems have their worth. I use one or two of them myself. I think it's time for us to take a sensible look at this in a sustainable way of looking at email marketing. And I think maybe to get an idea of what email marketing actually involves, because let's face it, there's not a lot of information out there that says what the basics are, what the fundamentals are before you get started. Let's share that screen and get moving, as I've got a whole bunch of stuff to get through, and hopefully I can give you a look inside all four of those different systems we're looking at today. First of all, let's get going. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program on behalf of the Australian government. So it's a great way to get moving forward with your small business at a much subsidized rate to get the support you need. You'll be able to watch this again later at youtube.com/@businessstation, or at my own channel in a couple of days' time at youtube.com/@ Dante St. James. I've got a few others that I'm trying to get up to date with at the moment, about 4 videos behind. My fault for doing too many videos every week, I think. A little bit of a background on me. If you haven't met me before, I like to collect badges. I'm members of lots of things and have got a lot of different business units and lines of income coming through, as well as working obviously with Business Station with their digital solutions and their self-employment services program out of the Darwin region with Workforce Australia. Enough of that though. What we really want to know is what we're going to be looking at. We're looking at why we're still using email marketing in 2023. It seems kind of silly that we'd still be using such an old technology and having it at the center of what we're doing after all these years. Like, surely we've grown out of email marketing, right? Well, apparently not. What we're going to look at as well is what email marketing actually involves, looking at both, the newsletter side of things and then the marketing automation side. Then we're going to take a look inside a few systems. The first one's going to be Mailchimp. If you've never seen it before, it's kind of the one that most people start off with. Then we'll look at MailerLite, which I think is a much more simple version of Mailchimp and allows you to really sort of make your way through the system a lot more simply. Then we'll look at ActiveCampaign, which originally was invented in Australia and now is owned by a much bigger company around the world, and is just such a great, clean, simple to use technique to get this done. And then we'll look at what I'm currently using for my newsletters, but not so, I'm doing a little bit of marketing automation in there as well. It's called SendinBlue. I choose them mainly because of the price, but we'll be more on that later on. I'm not going to really give you a look at the pricing of all these things. What I'm really looking to do is to present 4 very different versions of this that are much the same, that have much the same features, and you pick the one that you think really works best for you. Why does email marketing still work? Well, it still works because it's yours. You own the list. You own control of it, and then it's low cost. It's so much lower cost to get in, rather than you having to feel like, oh, wow, I've just got all these problems, I've got all these issues, I can't get in. I can't get to my list of people on Facebook. I can't download all my contacts from LinkedIn or from Instagram. You go, well, in here, inside email marketing, you own the contacts. They're all yours. Every one of those names and juicy email addresses is going to be all yours. So that's the main reason why I think that email marketing still works. But I'd say there's probably a few more reasons that we can pull from research at the moment on why email marketing is still so popular even in 2023. And that's because 77% of marketers saw an increase in their email engagement during 2022. 77% said they did better in 2022 than what they've done in previous years. That's a pretty good vote. I would take that alone and say, well, that's a good enough reason for me to continue to do my email marketing programs. 64% of businesses use email to market to their customers. So that's the majority. The majority of businesses are still using email for the marketing tool, not just a communications tool, but as a marketing tool to be able to reach their customers, reach new customers, reach old customers, just to deal with their customers in a way that works through email. It doesn't end there. 33% of marketers will send weekly email marketing. It's a little bit higher. It's around about, it's 58% when it comes to sending a monthly email. But that 33%, that's a third of all people who are marketers, small business owners, big business owners, will send an email marketing newsletter every single week. And 81% of business to business marketers, those who are businesses who sell to other businesses, say that it's their single most important marketing channel. That's high praise for email marketing. It's a reason why I still do it myself. I had a big year in email marketing last year. It's my number one source of new work. Between that and LinkedIn and the things that I do through YouTube, that accounts for 80% of, or over 80%, now it's about 83% of all the new business I attract comes through those three channels. Email marketing is the biggest of all those three. So that's just for me. What about for you? Well, if 81% of B2B marketers and 33% of marketers are sending them every single week, there's got to be something in there for the rest of us, right? So what does email marketing actually involve? What's the pieces of email marketing? Well, we start off first with building a list. Then we build compelling content so people can actually be interested in what we're sending them. Personal engagement is very, very important, as is language, tone, and layout. And finally, being clear and being concise, all such important ways to make sure that you're actually, carrying across a message that people want to read and in a format that they want to read it in. So let's break that down a bit. When it comes to building a list, it's all about adding customers' emails. So for me, I grew mine first of all by going, well, anyone who has contact with me, they go on my list and they receive one of my newsletters and they can choose whether they want to opt out or not. Now, does that sound legal? Probably sounds like I'm spamming them. The difference is, though, these people have an existing prior relationship with me through business, so that I have every right to be able to email them, right? Now, I could ask them if they want to opt in to receive that, but they've already opted in to receive email from me. And as long as I'm sending it from the same email address, which I am, means that I can then add them to a list. Now, they may choose to get off that list. They may choose to, some more nasty ones might just say, oh, you shouldn't have added me to that. That's rude. That's a breach of confidence, but nobody ever has. I get maybe out of 10,700 now email addresses in my system that I send out an email newsletter to every Saturday morning. I get no more than about 6 or 7 unsubscribes a week out of 10,700 of them. That's all right. I think I'm doing okay. So what I do is add them in directly. You can do that too. You can add them into a list. You can add inbox emails. So things like HubSpot will have integrations with things like Gmail. Others will have integrations with Outlook Mail, where every email that goes in is being managed over here in a customer relationship management system that includes email lists. So you can then use those contacts and automatically assign people to a list that's associated with a newsletter or some kind of sequence of emails that's going to go out. You can encourage signups. I encourage all the people who read my newsletter every week to invite someone else to do it. It doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't cost me anything. It's not a big deal for them to do it. So what I do is get them to go, well, if there's someone who you think of who can benefit from what I've written here, pass it on to them or get them to sign up for it so they can get it too. Encouraging signups and things like your other emails that you send out to people. Social media posts are a really good example of that. YouTube videos, anywhere where you're doing stuff on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, where you can have a link to your list for people to sign up to receive news from you. They're great places to begin with. Your email, your website is probably one of the #1 places that you're going to have that opt-in box on there for people to join your newsletter. But one thing I'll tell you to never ever do is to never ever buy a list of email addresses. Never ever take a list of email addresses that belongs to another company and then add it to your list. You're asking for trouble, and the Spam Act consequences can be quite harsh for small businesses. It can be for as much as about $1 million. For large businesses, it can be up to $5 million in fines. So you don't want to do that. I know a lot of people think, oh, I can't hurt. No one's going to catch me. No one's going to do it. Look, there is a history of this not being particularly enforced heavily, but all it takes is one person who really dislikes you and has a lot of time, in other words, a baby boomer, who's going to have a lot of time to follow up those complaints and call ombudsmen and all sorts of people. And then you're going to be faced with some very serious questions. So don't buy lists, just make your own. Grow your lists gently. The next thing you have to do is come up with some compelling content for these emails. not just pushing emails and products and services and like buy this, buy that, sign up for this, book that. There've got to be things of interest in there that help people to connect with you, that make them feel connected to you and make them feel like that you're someone who's worth listening to and worth connecting to. What this does then allow is for someone to go, you know what? I feel like this is someone I want to hear from. I feel like this is someone who has something worthy to say to me. I feel like this is someone who I feel a connection with. And then they may want to read more about your offers, your deals, your launches, your specials, your happy Christmas sale, your post Mother's Day sale, all that kind of thing. But one thing I would say when it comes to newsletters, unless you're a corporate, large company, avoid what we call the business updates. And that's where you're doing, oh, here's the word from the CEO. Here's the word from the managing director. Here's the word from the marketing head of God knows what. You don't want that kind of update because first of all, no one cares. Second of all, no one cares. And third of all, no one cares. Those kind of updates are so boring to people unless you are the chief financial officer and your newsletter is to people who are there to hear your company's quarterly results. No one cares about that stuff. They only really care what's in it for them and whether you take the time to do something that matches what they're looking for, something that matches, their interests, the things that they like. Next thing, engaging personally. Now, personalization can be in the form of inserts. So it can have something like a gap, which, and your email systems will do this, a gap which says something like, hey, Emily, you're gonna love this week's update from us. So that Emily is inserted as a bit of like a short code or like a bit of code that says, okay, hey, and then insert the first name of that person on the list. And then it'll ask you to have like a filler there. So if you have hey, and they don't have a first name in your system, you can have hey you or hey there, which is a great one. And then it goes into the email. So personalization actually really helps for someone to recognize that the email is about them and is relevant because it mentions their name. Now, why does that seem relevant? Well, because there's a little dopamine hit that happens every time in our heads when we see our own name or hear our name said. It's an evolutionary thing that's to do with recognition and staying close to our tribe. Someone who knows our name is generally someone who knows us, and they would only ever call out to us or have something to us if it was relevant for us to hear. This is back in times of, small village life where everyone would have a different name. Not there wouldn't be 13 different Jessicas in one school class. There would be like everybody would have different names. So what it does is says, if I can see my name there, I'm much more likely to open it up and look at it because I'm assuming it's actually relevant to me. And when things are relevant, we think they are premium. And premium means, I want to take a look. I want to see what's inside there. Now, we've also started to train ourselves to ignore a lot of that stuff because the fake and over-the-top insert personalization here ability of these systems means that some people just look at that and they go, oh, it's just going to be spam. It's just going to be newsletters. Just keep going. So you then have to get a little bit smarter on the way you personalize. Some of that is by segmenting your lists. So you may have your complete list of all your subscribers to a newsletter or a complete list of all the people who've ever dealt with you. But then, they all have different likes and dislikes and would have come from very different places. Some of them may have come to you from an email marketing campaign you did 2 years ago about scented candles. A lot of them might have come from a Facebook ad campaign where you're collecting leads for people in their email addresses who are interested in your personalized calendars. So the problem here is that you don't want to be sending irrelevant stuff out to everybody. If you're sending out the latest scented candles range, you don't want to be sending out to the people who are there for your personalized calendars. And likewise, if you're sending out information about personalized calendars, you don't necessarily want to send it out to people who are scented candle fans and maybe not relevant. They may be relevant. They may be in an overlapping zone of different ones, but segmenting those lists allows you to send out stuff which is much more relevant to that particular group of people that you're trying to contact with. And references to previous purchases. This is where it gets really, really very tightly relevant and tightly personalized in things like Klaviyo, which is able to then tie into, hey, you had a previous purchase with us, it was this. You might also like this. So it would pick out, you might have bought a vanilla scented candle once upon a time. So it's going to say, well, if you like this, you may also like our coconut scented candle as well. So you're sending a very personalized recommendation. These things are generally automated. They're not manually done by you, but there's systems like Klaviyo, which is particularly good at this, at tying into e-commerce and selling of products on websites. So it's Klaviyo, I think I've got that right, Klaviyo. But just look, Klay, if you just search for that, it's the first thing that comes up on Google. And it's specifically made for e-commerce people. A little bit hard to get your head around, but once you got your head around it, those automations actually do make a lot of sense. So that's personal engagement. Next up is the language, the tone, and the outlook of these newsletters you're sending. So you want clear, simple language. Everything online has got to be in that sort of position where a year 5 school child could understand what you're talking about. So when you use simple, clear English, it means it's accessible to all of those different levels of comprehension of the English language, not just native speakers, but people who are also learning it. They don't have a hugely sophisticated knowledge of the language, but they can understand what you're saying. Also looking at a tone that's not snarky or not angry and not cynical and not spiteful, but optimistic, friendly, approachable. Every brand wants to be somehow approachable, except for maybe like luxury car brands and luxury watchmakers who deliberately make themselves not particularly approachable because they don't want people who can't afford them to approach them. And they assume the people who can approach them know about them and probably will approach them. Another thing you want to do with your layout is what I call a low-code layout. Now, a low-code layout is about not too many pictures, not too much layout, just mostly text. The best email newsletters out there are ones that are sent out as text. They're just text, they've got nothing else in them. An example of that will be a guy called Justin Welsh, who has something like 38,000 people on his mail list now. He talks about the solopreneur, starting your own business as a sole trader. And it's very much all about that. He sends his out on Saturday mornings as well. And his is just basically words. There's no formatting really. There's no images and no images of him, anything like that. It's just a plain text email. Now, why does he do that? Why wouldn't he send a beautiful email that looks like a website and all that? Well, because the more of that stuff that's in there in formatting, layouts, colors, pictures, and all that, the more that email is regarded to be spam by the spam filters at Gmail and at Hotmail/Outlook. The less of that formatting, the better. So the more you can make it as a real written email without any pictures or anything like that, or even signatures and all that, the less it's going to think that this is quite spammy and the more chance it has to go through. The other reason is too, that text reads perfectly on a mobile phone, whereas pictures might be really like very expansive and very panoramic and beautiful on a desktop computer. But oh my gosh, they do not scale well to a mobile phone at all. Text though works on absolutely everything. This Saturday, when I do my next update, because I send one every Saturday, I'm actually going to go for a 100% text email. I'm removing all images, all formatting, and just going 100% text to see what the difference is. Because I used to just send 100% text and I used to get really good open rates. And I've noticed that my open rates are sort of declining a bit the more pictures and formatting and layout that I put in there. I think I'm making it easier for people to read. What I'm really doing is actually make it harder to get into their email inboxes in the first place. So a low-code layout is very ideal. I know you might have a product or a service that you need a photo to show, but if you can just have that one photo rather than 15 photos that are all linked to go off to your website, because that's the number one thing that these spam filters look at, as this might be commercial email or a spam email. Next is to be clear and concise, to say what you need to say in as few words as possible, and try and limit yourself to just one thing in an email. Don't try to educate people across 15 different things and 5 different product sets and 3 products per product set all on one email. It's overwhelming. It's too much to put out there. So say in as few words as possible and try to limit yourself to just one idea. My Saturday morning newsletter has just got one idea each Saturday morning. So it allows them to then look at it and go, okay, I can walk away from today and I've learned this one single thing. Also, try to refer to other topics to your website. So if you do have to lead someone somewhere, send them off to your website. Send them off to a link somewhere. Links coming out of an email don't feel quite as spammy as what a lot of layout and buttons and real formatting things would. So if you can try to limit that kind of stuff and just refer off anything else to your website. So if you've got for instance, what I do at the end of my email is I go, hey, here's three PS, here's 3 ways that I can help you if you're ready for that. And I just link off to those 3 things. Usually I'd have buttons on the bottom. This week coming, I'm just going to have a link just to see if it opens differently, see if there's a bit of a difference, and I can see if that's something I should move forward with. So then we look at the role of these email marketing systems. We get what email marketing is now, and we go, well, how do we make this thing work for us? How does this now become something that's of use to us that we can go, yep, this is something that I reckon I can work with. So that's all done by email marketing systems. So we're talking about the Mailchimps, the HubSpots, the Constant Contacts, the Zohos, the Mailjets, Keep. There's tons and tons of them. There's literally hundreds of these systems. I've just put up like a bunch of the more known ones. I certainly use Mailchimp, MailerLite. I've used SendinBlue, Constant Contact, HubSpot, and ActiveCampaign, and Campaign Monitor. So I've used a lot of these before. I'm currently using SendinBlue, but I've also most recently have used both MailerLite and HubSpot as well. And the ones that we're going to be looking at are going to be, and soon we'll see what they are, but Mailchimp, SendinBlue, MailerLite, and ActiveCampaign we'll look at today. So what these systems do is they start off with a subscription form on your website. The system actually generates code that you can insert into your website that people can subscribe. So you say, subscribe to our website, put in your details here and hit subscribe, and then it goes off and you're now in a list on that site. Then what happens in the system is that email address is allocated to a list. So that particular form might have been talking about a list to do with our latest product releases. So you'll get on an alert list that's sent out every time there's a new product left out. Or it could be the general newsletter list. So if there's a big enough website that has multiple different emails coming out from that business, then this one could be maybe the general newsletter that you're going to get our general updates. It's just kind of like working with the email list with news.com.au or any of the big newspapers or news sites. They've got lots of different newsletters and lots of different email lists that you can be part of, depending on what your interests are. For example of this is really good is CNET, a computer and technology news service. They've got a couple of dozen different newsletters they have. Each of their writers produces their own newsletter every week or month that you can then follow or reject, and follow all or reject all, or just get this one and this one. It allows people to get into a list that's highly relevant to them. And then once they're in that list, then they may be advertised the opportunity to join other lists, so they get more emails again. The idea being that the more emails you get, the more in their ecosystem you are, the more likely you are to buy from their sponsors and their advertisers. At least that's the thought of it. So you're now added to a list in the system. Once you're added to a list in the system, then what happens is that the person writes an email, and they send it en masse to that list. They put together their email newsletter or whatever the email is they're going to be sending, and it sends it all off to that list, usually all at one time. Like mine does at 8 a.m. Northern Territory time on a Saturday morning. It sent it off to 10,700 people who all get it at around about the same time, or at least within an hour or two of each other, depending on where they are in Australia, and making sure that I'm not sort of hammering too many emails out there all at the one time. So once it goes out to them, the person opens that email, and the person who sent the email out can actually see who's opened it to a degree. So it's not everyone, it's most people. Now, why that reason is because when people open things on an iPad or an iPhone, if they've chosen not to allow themselves to be tracked by other services on the internet, well, then we can't see who's opened it. We can predict who we think have opened it. So for instance, if I got 10,000 opens on my email, but it's saying that all they could really count was 8,200, but they're assuming based on prior performance that 10,000 opened it, not 8,900. Then they go, well, okay, that's fine. We're kind of predicting that that's the number that normally would open it. That's because those people who opened it opened on things that weren't trackable or weren't allowed to be tracked. Now, this will become incredibly important, and more important as more and more browsers and systems put away that the cookie tracking, the whole idea of like dropping a file of yours into your browser, and that browser then tells us who you are as you do things with us on our websites, on our email systems, all that sort of stuff. Now that's, by the end of this year, most of that's going to be in the past. We're not going to be able to track much at all. So we're going to have to be relying more upon other things in that email, that clicks, engagement, responses, rather than opens. So the whole idea of an open rate is about to become a thing of the past, because we're not really going to get an accurate measure of how many people are opening our emails. And that's probably around about the end of this year, when Google sort of has the default on their Chrome browser to not accept third-party cookie tracking. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that, but at the moment we can measure that to a degree. Once they open it, we can make then decisions about what to do around that. So for instance, if I had 37% of people opened last week's email, but only 27% of people opened this week's email, I'll put those two emails side by side and go, what was it that was so good about last week's email and so crap about this week's email to have a 10% differential between how they performed this week and last week? So those decisions would be, I'd look at it and go, well, this week's was much longer than the previous week's, or there was so much more writing on this one, or I used purple as the feature color rather than pink. Pink worked well, purple didn't work quite so well. Or it might be that I had lots of photos in this week's one, which in this case, this week, I definitely had more photos this week than what I had last week. I had 2 extra photos. Was that enough to cut it over? But I also noticed in this week that I had a lot more people clicking through to my links than I did the week before. So I go, well, less people opened it, but there was a much more engagement with it. Many more people responded to the email personally, or clicked on a link in the email. So I go, well, not so much that bad that less people opened it, because more people interacted with it. And that's a good thing, right? We want the interactions. We want the next steps forward from the email. I'm not sending the email because I'm a nice guy. I'm sending the email because it's something which helps me to gain new clients and new customers and new work. So we make those decisions based on those results, and then we go back to the drawing board and do it all over again. That's an email newsletter response. Then we reach this other thing called email marketing automation. And this is a bit of a different beast. It works quite differently to what just a plain email newsletter works. So it starts with the same way as a subscription form on a website, or some kind of landing page which says you're now part of a very specific list. You're now added to that list, and that system now knows that you're part of this process. But instead of just being added to the list, it then also begins a sequence. And that sequence is now triggered, and it's set in motion to start doing whatever the next step is. So it might be, an autoresponder that says, thank you for joining this list. You're going to hear from us once a week, every Friday, and that could be a newsletter subscription. Or what it could be is more like a nurtured funnel, and I'm going to describe more about what that is in just a second. So the emails then are automatically sent at different intervals based upon the actions you are taking with those emails. So the first one, like I said, could be a thank you for subscribing. The second one then may be, okay, we've got the thank you. What we're going to do is say, hey, we noticed you didn't click on any of the links in our email. Here's one of the things we find that people really, really enjoy the most. If you click on it, you'll find this particular offer or this particular piece of value. And then 7 days later, it says, hey, I hope you enjoyed our article about X that you just read. Here's another article you may enjoy. So it's a nurtured sequence of actions delivered via email that keeps you in touch. I signed up for a speechwriter's email list just I think it was last week. And I've already received 2 emails from her. The first one was, here's the thing I promised you, this list of all the things you need to take into account before you write a speech. Then she's called up with me once the past week, which is Wednesday. And she said, hey, just checking in to see if you managed to read that download. And if you had any questions about, please send them through. In the meantime, I've got a course that some people find really valuable. You might want to find out more about, please click here. I didn't click here. And then today I've opened up and I've got another email from that sequence saying, hey, here's a bit of information you might find handy here. And then she puts out this information about, writing speeches that have got to do with formality and with protocol in government. So I've been sent 3 emails already in that sequence. Now, what I'm probably going to do when I receive the next one and don't really take much notice of it, I'm going to unsubscribe for that. So the emails will continue until you stop them. And you've got the power to stop that at any time. You, the recipient, can stop that sequence at any time. And that's what marketers kind of don't mind that you do, because they like to work with what they call qualified leads. Qualified leads are the people who have gone through that process and they're going, yep, they've bought something from me here. Yep, they signed up for this newsletter here. Yep, they've bought this course here. And as they go further along, they are more likely to buy whatever your most expensive or top tier product happens to be, or your service or your course that's costs a little bit more. So you can stop that at any time. But once you get off that sequence, they're kind of happy because they know that you're just tire kicking. You're probably never going to buy anything anyway. But as you continue along that sequence, what they don't want is someone who ignores everything. That's the worst thing, is they just ignore. And there's little prompts that email automation can do, such as sending out an email to someone who is unengaged or disengaged. So you say, well, any disengaged people who haven't opened up 3 of our emails in a row, don't send them any more emails, or don't send them this next email, but maybe send them another one in about 1 month's time, which then reaches out and checks in and says, hey, you were once interested in this. Are you still interested? Here's a course you could do. Here's a free download you have, something that keeps that relationship alive. But like everyone knows, everyone needs a little time away, a holiday from each other. Thank you to Peter Setter in Chicago for that one. But sometimes we need to give our customers a break from hearing from us. Silence sometimes is great. Gives them a chance to rest, come back in a month later with something really compelling, and they may re-engage with us. So some common automations that may happen in email include courses delivered in a sequence of modules via email. I do that now with my mini courses from my DanteSandJames.com website. Got 3 mini courses in there. Each one of those is delivered over a 5-week period. So when you sign up, you get you get module 1 straight away sent to you. 7 days later, you get module 2. 7 days after that, module 3, until you get all 5 of those modules. Then the sequence stops. Now, if I was really smart and like I was trying to make lots and lots of money out of my mini courses, I could say, okay, if you want to get that maxi course, well, now that you've finished the mini course, let's go on to the big stuff where we go really deep into the working of this. And that's $49, and you can get it now for a 10% discount because you completed this particular course. Just use this code when you're putting in the sales at my website, and I'll lead them off to the website, and they're all excited. They've learned these 5 modules, they're ready to go deeper, and I could make money out of that. And that's certainly something I'm looking at doing in the future, just not today. There's a little bit of work that has to go into that yet. And I also got to consider that I've made a bit of a career as a coach and as an advisor based out of not selling stuff to my clients and letting them come to me to ask me whether they want something that is at a cost. So there's decisions you may need to make when you look at trying to monetize things like courses through email. Another automation could be a sales funnel starting with a lead magnet and leading to a bigger purchase. Now, I've used a couple of jargon terms there: sales funnel and lead magnet. What are those? A sales funnel is pretty much as it sort of pictures. At the top of the funnel, in goes all the stuff, all the people, all the email addresses. And as they move down the funnel from segment A of the funnel to segment B, they qualified or disqualified from the process. So what was the code again, please? There's no actual code, sorry. I was just using a hypothetical example. I don't actually have a code for those courses. Sorry. All my courses are free. So you just get them at my website, DanteSandJames.com. Sorry, I probably wasn't clear then. I was just using a hypothetical example based upon my mini courses that I do. So the sales funnels, they feed in lots of people at the first. And then as you get further down that funnel, then what happens is that people then have less people are moving down the funnel. So it's getting more and more qualified. And the lower they get from that funnel, the closer they're coming to whatever your big ticket sales item is. That could be your big course. That could be your an actual service that you provide. It could be a one-to-one advisory service, or it could be a product. It could be actually a physical product, like a book, Excuse me, I'm very congested today, so I've got to keep drinking my water. The sales funnel is typically been something that's been done to death over the last 10 years. We kind of jumped on this whole sales funnel thing. And a lot of people felt very burned by it because they feel like it's constantly people badgering them to buy things, to upgrade, to upsell. And before they know it, they've spent money they didn't really want to spend on things they didn't really want. But because these sequences kept delivering them this stuff, well, they felt, oh, maybe I should buy this. Maybe I shouldn't buy this. Oh, yeah, I should buy this because it tells me that it's going to grow me and make me a better person. So it can tend to be a little bit, I guess, manipulative. And that's, I guess, the idea is to manipulate people down a sequence of events and contacts so you can eventually have enough of a relationship with them that they'll go, you know what, I'm going to buy this thing. Now, have I bought things from sales funnels before? My word, I have many times. I get sucked in these things so easily to the point now where I have to actually mentally stop myself from continuing into funnels when I realize I'm getting put into one. And it usually starts with that other term that I was talking about, lead magnet. Now, lead magnet is something that someone's going to get in order to give you their email address. So a lead magnet could be enter your email address and get my free ebook. Enter your email address and go in the draw for a weekly draw for a free half-an-hour consultation with me. Enter your email address here and you'll go into the monthly draw for an iPad Pro or something like that, where you've got a bit of a magnet that's leading people in to put their email addresses in so they become a lead for you to work down that sales funnel. So these systems perform those actions automatically. You're not having to go in there constantly and send emails off to those people who are going through your funnel. The system will do that automatically as they move through it. Another way that's used for email automation is autoresponders to confirm that you've been added to a list, which is called a double opt-in. The double opt-in is basically a confirmation that you really want to join this list. Yes, okay, great. Well, we'll definitely send you the emails now because you've shown us that you really want to be on this list. Also, birthdays, reminders, thank yous, check-ins to see how you're going. All those things can be automated. For example, if you could say this particular customer has signed up to our list and signed up and got our product. We want to give them an anniversary special 365 days after they have initially signed up with us. So you go, hey, it's our happy anniversary day today. You've been with us for 365 days. Thank you so much. We just want to check in and make sure you're okay. And also say, look, you've also qualified for 25% off any one of our website products today. So that's how people do this. That's how companies know that it's your birthday or it's been a year since they first started working with you, because they've got a sequence that goes into play every time that you put your email address in at their website. It just starts that. I haven't started doing that myself, but I think that'd be a cool thing to do, actually, to say to someone who contacted me a year later, hey, do you realize it's a year since our first email contact? Just want to say thank you for, being part of my business. And if there's anything I could ever do for you, please let me know. In the meantime, I've actually got this little ebook over here you might want to download that's about XXX. And they go, oh, yeah, I'll download that. And then that puts them into another sales funnel or another sequence in which I go a week later, hey, you downloaded the book. How'd you find it? And it all feels very personal. And depending on how it's written, generally it doesn't tend to come across. We know it's automated. We know it's a robot sending that. We know they wrote it once and they send it out to everyone every time this happens. But we see our name on it and it's relevant to something we just did or our experience we just had. So it feels a little bit more premium and we feel a bit better about, spending some time, responding to that or considering the things that are linked in that email. So let's look at some of the systems. Now, the four of them we're going to look at today. Mailchimp, MailerLite, ActiveCampaign, and SendinBlue. So the first one we're going to look at is Mailchimp. So Mailchimp is the big popular one out there. Everyone knows about it. Now I've just got to add that password, sign into my email, which is, so if you want to send me an email that's really spammy, it's to allmybloodysubscriptions@gmail.com. So, because I want to put all my bloody subscriptions in there that I don't really want to do or I'm using for things like this. So if I go to allmybloodysubscriptions@gmail.com, let's see this one. And I'll pick up my confirmation. So we've got SendinBlue, ActiveCampaign, MailerLite. Where is my Mailchimp? Is Mailchimp there? MailerLite's there. Where's Mailchimp? It seems to have gone disappearing. Let's see if it's in underneath my spam box. And sure enough, there it is in my spam. So let's activate my account with Mailchimp and in we'll go. So Mailchimp's now opening. I'll move out my little Zoom window here. So the account setup now begins. So I'm doing a fresh account here because basically, we're going to do the free version because you may not have done this before. So I'm going to go, my name is Dante St. James. My business name is Subscriptions Are Us. And my phone number is, I don't think they need to know my phone number. So let's leave that out. My address, they also do not need to know any of this information. So let's get it past there. I'll go PO Box. There you go. 36078. Where is it? Winnelly. Northern Territory 0821. So you can't stalk me unless you want to wait by my post office box. I only go once a week, so you have to be really specific. Now, what do I want to do with Mailchimp? I want to grow my list of email subscribers. None of this part really matters. I'll just say we've got none yet. Let's get started. And it's going to take me, do I need to import something? Yeah, let's import my, no, I'm going to skip that. I'm not going to import my brand stuff. But what you can do is go maybe, my DanteStJames.com. Let's see what it does. It's going to bring in maybe my logo, all that sort of thing. Now, what are we going to do? Do we want to get some emails from them? No, I don't. I don't want to get their emails because I know what I'm doing. I just want to get started. So when we open up Mailchimp, we'll get this interface. So it's going to say, here's some ideas. You can get free support if you upgrade. What do you want to create? Do you want to create new leads with sign-up forms? Yeah, you can have a pop-up form, an embedded form, a sign-up landing page. The landing page is hosted by them. I like the embedded form because it sits on my website. So I go, yes, I'm going to create an embedded form. So it's going to say, well, what do you want in there? How do you want to work it? Let's begin. So it's going to say, okay, here's the fields you may want. Now, is email address and subscribe enough? Yeah, that's probably enough, but we can probably look at adding some more form fields in, like their first name. So add in the first name. Let's add that, make it active in there. So email address and first name. Do I want a last name? Does that feel like it might be a little bit too much? Let's add it anyway. And if people don't want to, we won't make it. We won't make the last name mandatory, but we will make the first name mandatory by setting it as required. So now we've got our form. We go, okay, what do we want to do? Continue. Our form is almost ready. What I now need to do is take that code and put it into my website. So let's log into the back of one of my websites. So go to back of one of my websites and I'm going to start a new page perhaps. You can't see my email. You can't see my password. So that's all safe for now. In we go. And what I want to do is go and create a new page, for example. So my new page is going to go there. Let's create a new page copied about one of my other previous pages. And let's just say we'll call it test email. And I'm going to use the Divi Builder because that's what I use in my WordPress to do that. I'm not going to do this every time, by the way. This is just showing you that it is a fairly simple process to add in things like this. So let's just say I'm just going to put in some text here. This is my test page. Then I'm going to insert something else. So I'm going to break that into 2 blocks. And over here, I'm going to insert some code. And it's going to be that Mailchimp code. So see how it's now just inserted that in? So if I then save that page and publish it, and I can go and see what it looks like for real. And I can put my details into that, and it's going to go into this list. So let's do that. Let's actually put myself in my own list. So email address, let's say DanteStJames@gmail.com. And oops, here we go. My name is Dante. They're not going to get my second name. Subscribe. That's now, as we said in the presentation, has sent that off to add to a list. So at the moment, we've created no lists in here, but we've actually got this now live. We now have our form in there. So now I've finished doing that. I can go, well, I've done that. I've moved on to the next thing. I feel like I've done enough. I've copied the code. What's next? Let's go back to Mailchimp over here, exit. And then we're starting to build up some of the different things we have to do. So we have 2 contacts, both of me, and I've signed into them. I've now done my form building. I've got my embedded form. Now I want to do is play around with my contacts. So I've got manage contacts here. And in manage contacts, I can look at who they are. So let's look at them. I've got my list of people here, both me, all my bloody subscriptions, and DanteStJames@gmail.com. I can now take those and do things with them. So I can add or remove tags or add them or resubscribe or unsubscribe people to different things, add them as a VIP if I really want to. But what I really want to do is add them into something. I want to create what we're called lists, or maybe in some systems, they call that a segment. So if I look down here, I've got a segment. So you filter contacts that meet certain criteria and then send them targeted messages. Now, really what I just want to do is have contacts in some kind of way which I'm going to be able to separate them from one to the other. People will be subscribed or unsubscribed. These people now will be contained as subscribed to everything I do. So I can segment them down and create tags with them. So for instance, all my bloody subscriptions are going to have a tag. So manage this, add tags. And the tags could be create tag from website, create a second tag. Here we go. Create a second tag, which is going to be admin only. So they're the ones that I'm not sending email to because they're only admin list. And so when I create now a segment, which is like a list of people, I'm going to base that segment upon certain criteria. So create segment. And then we're going to, gosh, that time is passing very, very quickly, isn't it? So I'm going to say the email address is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose tags. So I'm going to use tags is from website. Let's see what it looks like. Should be only one email address that comes in here. It's saying none. You know why? Because I haven't gone to my contacts and added them into those tags. So I go to my tags, I go to my contacts, and let's open each one and add them to tags. So we need to get rid of that segment, and we want to see everybody. So for Dante St. James, what I'm going to do is add a tag as from website. So that's now tagged as from website. This one down here is going to be one of my admin only people. There we go, added admin only. Now, if I want to go and send things to just people who are from the website, not to my admin users, only the people in the tag of from website will get it. So let's sort of look at how we then send an email to them. So what we do is go to content and we create an email. Sorry, campaigns is where we create the email. Campaigns, and we look at there's no campaigns there. We need to create a new one, create our campaign, and then we just send a regular email. And this will give us a chance to build an email layout that looks right for us. Like I said, don't get too caught on building it out. So we've got this new builder that's got some great designs in there. I really would say to you, don't over design things. You don't necessarily need logos, but you can have a logo. You can probably, if you want to add a photo, but again, you don't absolutely need to have any of these things. What you really need is a lot of text in there. So let's just say that's my email. I'm done with it. I'm ready to save and exit it. And I'm ready to start sending that email out to someone. So what it's going to do is say, who do you want to send it to? If I send it to all my subscribed contacts, there's 2 people who are going to get that. I don't want to send it to all of them. I want to send it only to people who are in a particular audience. So my audience is then going to be, okay, who's it based upon? Choose my audience. Is all the subscribers, or do I want to make it people with certain tags over here from website? So when I get to that from website, then I go save that, and then I go and start building that email. I've got my subject line where I can say, hey, and then enter some personalization. So see, you've got the little happy face here. That's personalization and these kind of, well, it's not personalization, it's just this, emojis. So you can have emojis in there. Here's your weekly update. And normally what you can do is enter a little bit of personalization in there. So it has little extra things you can put in to make it better. So let's just say I'm just going to go with that. That's all I'm going to do. And then they've got all sorts of these requirements you'll have to fulfill before you can send your email. But basically, I've got who I'm sending it to is just to that particular person or to a group of people that fit the tags that I've segmented it into, my subject line, and off it goes. And then once that's done, I can share that out and send it, and it's on its way to go. I can't do that right now because I have to go through an approval process. They have to have a referral badge. I have to, get rid of the placeholder content and pull out actual email content in there. But what I can do is jump over to what they call automations over on the left here. So on the automations, this is where we're going to build what they call journeys. And the journeys are things that are preset, like emailing tagged customers, creating a little bit of a process through creating repeat customers, going back to people who may have shopped with us before, welcoming our new contacts and saying thank you for joining us. Things like abandoned cart reminders can even be in there. But what we're going to do, though, we're going to build something from scratch. So what we're going to do is build a journey that's going to be saying welcome and nurture. so that when someone comes into our list, we're going to immediately welcome them, and we're going to start them on a sequence of emails that's going to be sent to them over a certain period of time. So let's start building that out. And they give us this sequence builder. So it says when a contact is added, when do we consider the start? The start will be when a tag is added. So when we've added the tag that they're from website, that's our starting point. It says as soon as someone is regarded as tagged as from website, that's when the journey begins. And the first step of the journey is something like this. So we go, I'm going to send an email. So I'm going to send that email to them, and that email is going to be, to their email address from me. It's going to be subject is going to be thank you. And then we're going to put in the content in there. At the moment, it's every day as soon as possible. I don't want to send it. I just want to send that once. So I just want to send it not every day. I just want to send it as soon as possible. So they can send it ASAP any day of the week that person has, particularly the day that person came in. Do I have tracking? No, I don't really need that. But then I build again an email just like we did before with all this information in it. So if I go, welcome to our newsletter or something like that. Let's save it, and that now goes into the journey. So what happens the minute that someone has joined this particular tag group, they will then immediately get that email. The next step I want to do is go, I want them to wait. So wait for a trigger or wait for something. So I'm going to say wait for trigger. And that trigger is going to be a specific activity, say waiting for a certain amount of days or something like that. So let's look at dates and special events. Not really a sign up date. I just wanted to sort of wait for something, a tag added. I just want a gap. I want it to pause for a little while. So it may not be in this particular one because it does change quite a lot in these things. So if I go, if it's open, say for instance, they open the email or they open any of the last 5 campaigns, you can send something to them. Or if you can go, let's try something else. Let's delete that one. See what the options are over on the right. If else, percentage split, wait for time delay. Now, this is the one I want. I want the time to delay for 1 week, or I can say a certain amount of days. So I can say maybe 9 days. Wait 9 days and then send another email. So I can have that split. So I can say, if they opened any of my last emails, then that I'm going to do a certain thing. So if they have opened it, then I say time delay again for a week. Or if they haven't opened it, what I want to do, I actually want to send them an email. So I'll send them a new email. And it'll be something to do with the fact that, instead of email context be, hey, we miss you. And we'll put something in the email to say something like, I'm in the classic builder now, sorry. So I'm going to a different one again. Let's go back into the new builder. Probably messed up my sequence now. Yeah, of course I have. Create an email with a new builder. And instead of that saying, what we did before was welcome, we're going to say now this time, let's take out some of this guff. We don't need it all. And we're going to go, you didn't open our ebook, smile, sad face. And then we'll have some sort of message on there saying, hey, here it is, a link to it again, just in case you missed it and you want to read it. And then we let them have a rest for a good 7 days, time delay, 1 week. And then we'll decide if they've opened it. So if else again, if they have opened it, or if they've done something within there, if it's been like a particular kind of activity they've done, then we say, okay, if they have opened it, then wait another 2 weeks. Or if they haven't opened it, then they're not obviously going to want to open it, then we'll end that sequence. So you can make those sequences go for as long as you like. You can make them go for 17 steps, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, but these things will happen automatically as someone starts off from being tagged in your from website group. Now, what you can do too is make them go back to the beginning when they exit, get them back in again, they repeat the journey all over again. We don't really want that because they've ended that journey. They don't really want to engage with you anymore. And we understand that. That's fine. So to do this, to do these kind of journeys, if you want to deliver a journey to get 4 points or more. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to upgrade to a paid plan, which then can include 100 different points of that journey. But you get 4 points of the journey for free. Now I'm going to hop into one of our other systems, MailerLite. MailerLite does much the same kind of thing. So we're going to verify that email from all my bloody subscriptions email address, which is over here. So let's pop into that and look at our MailerLite. So MailerLite's here. Let's verify. It's going to open up this fresh version of MailerLite for us to have a look at. And let's start that process. So we've email verified. We've now verified that we're in there. Let's now start to create things. So the same kind of thing works. We create a form over on the left. Here's our forms. When they come up, it's a little slower. I think it's still hasn't said that it wants to be verified. So I'll have to verify that again. Maybe I took a little too long to verify it. There we go. Let's choose it again. Let's see if this works this time. Hooray, we've got our email verification. So let's complete our profile. No, we've never used this. So these are just little steps they make you go through when they're doing it. Test only, test only. That looks fine. Let's not enter any other information. Maybe just go my email, this one. Next step. It makes us want to have a last name. Okay, you'll get my last name finally. Now, wonder why I've got no privacy. So you can have an address, all that. Now we don't really we have to do some physical address in there for spam reasons, particularly in the US, but we inherit most US laws when it comes to spam and privacy. So I go 36078. Again, it's Winelli. Country is Australia. Down past Aruba. Look for my time deal, which is like 9:30. So a little bit further, that's all the 9s. There we go. My Kessis, I'm plus 9:30 Darwin. What industry am I in? Doesn't matter. Let's just say anything. And once we're in there, now we're going to look at campaigns. So we want to look at some campaigns, some forms. I want automations as well. I don't really need all the other stuff. So let's keep going. Next step. And now we got, yes, I know I don't have any subscribers. We're going to create some new ones. So it's all the same steps really they have. What kind of content am I going to share in my newsletters? Marketing information. So they just want to know, basically, you're not going to be a spammer or a scammer using their system. So I have to fill out all these things. So I've got all that stuff in there. Have I used website builders for? Yes, I have. Do I sell products online? No, I don't. What platform did I use? Let's just get, I don't know, WordPress. Next step, they want to know a lot of stuff about you. It really slows you down. You agree to their policy, great. I don't want any information and emails from them. Finally, please, will you let me in? Yes, here we go. So now I can do all the different free features for the next 30 days. You get a 30-day free trial with their premium features, and it goes back to the basics. So what we're going to look at now is creating our form. Let's create a form over on the left. And create our form, it's much the same as creating any forms on Mailchimp. We're going to pop up an embedded form is what we want. So I'm going to call it test form, save and continue. As we move through, we go into our subscriber groups. Now, this is like we did with tags in Mailchimp. So instead, what we're going to do is call them subscribers. And go create. Now, have we got anyone to add into that? No, we don't yet, but we'll create someone soon. Maybe I'll even create myself as a member of that list. Now it's going to say build your form. So our form is going to be much the same as what we just did over on Mailchimp. So we can create more different fields in there. At the moment, we're going to email one. We can change the background, the colors, all that kind of information. That will be limited on the free account, but it can be on others as well. For this, we can have links through to privacy policies and capture, all that kind of thing. But what I want to do is maybe get out of that default form and look at like making it a bit different. There's a card version, you can have a photo on the top of it. Default's fine. I don't really need anything more than that. You'll notice too that we can have more inputs. So if I can go form elements input, there's all the colors that we can do in there to make it look a bit nicer. So I've chosen that. I'm going to move on. I'm done editing that. It's not letting us collect anything else but the email address. And I don't know why, but my connection just got interrupted. Let's keep going. There we go. So I've now got my form. So now I've got my form. I'm going to want to embed it somewhere. I'm going to want to send it off so I can share where the location of it is. But what I really want to do is embed it. So as I go down here, here's the code that I need to put into wherever I want to have it on my site. Now, what it wants me to do is have something in my header of my site and then put this where the actual thing is taking place. I just want some HTML code. Just this one will do. I don't need to go fancy. Let's go to that page that I was in over here. Enable my visual builder again in WordPress and Divi. I'm going to get rid of the Mailchimp one. I'm now going to put in the, right, let's get out of there and get rid of all that code. And now I'm going to put in my new code from SendinBlue. So let's get that, copy, back over here, paste. So I already did it. Let's just start taking a while. There we go. And now I've got my new one in there. So if I then go and save this page, just get all this stuff out of the way. There's things in your screen that you can't see, which is the Zoom control tab seems to run in the way and get in the way of everything. Now I've saved that. Let's exit the visual builder and let's see the site as it is. Now I can enter in my details again to this one at gmail.com and in we go. So that's now said, thank you. You've now joined our subscriber list. If I pop over to this and look at my subscribers on the left, I can now see that I've got somebody who has subscribed. There we go. All my bloody subscriptions is already in there. It's now showing 2. There's now a second one in there. So I'll refresh that. Let's see if it drops in. There you go, danteandjames@gmail.com. So they're already in my subscriber list so that I can go over and now and create an email newsletter over in campaigns and create an email that's going to go out to them. So on a regular campaign, I'm going to call it newsletter 1. The beautiful thing about these is once you've done one, then you're able to do more. So once you've done the first one, you're then able to work with like all the other stuff to do with, you can duplicate all your previous emails into a new email. So you're going to be doing that a lot if you're sending newsletters. You want to save all this same information. So say, welcome to our newsletter. Well, we can do it later. You can spell Dante. There we go. Who is it from? So I can say, yes, it's from Dante and James, or we can say it's from ClickStarter, which is one of my businesses. And the end of email, yeah, we can use that one. Now they say don't probably use free email providers, but it's only because it seems spammy. You'll get a much better open rate if you use one that's got your domain name in it. Yes, I want to track the opens. I want it to be in English. That's next. Let's make the content of this. And just like Mailchimp, we can now design our layout. So I can use a drag and drop editor to do that. I don't think any of us want to code it all up in HTML, do we? And now we get our email content builder will come up any moment. So we can write, this is what it looks like. So we can make it a bit different. So we can go, I don't want that particular logo in there. Catchy header, let's say newsletter number 1, header 1, newsletter number 1 is here. Someone's typing is absolutely atrocious. Save it. Then we can write in all the information we want to write in there. So we can go, write in something to get our writers excited, a bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more, lots of different stuff. We can change over this particular set of pictures. So I can just, I can edit that image or I can replace it with something else. So I can load up something else. So let's upload an image from my desktop. I've got tons of images on here. So let's just pick up something which was something that I would have created a little bit earlier. This one, part of one of my upcoming social media posts this week. So once that's uploaded, it's nearly there. It's one thing I'm afraid that MailerLite is a little slower to work than some others. Let's just say that's all I really want to do. I want to cut out the rest of this. There's too much stuff on there. I don't need all these different extra groups of things. Remember, like we want to keep it simple. We don't want to have too much code in there. And everything you add on here is just more code. So I'll get rid of that bottom bit. They'll insert the subscribe bit because it has to be there. Sent by MailerLite will always be there as well. Let's just say we're done editing. We're ready to send that off. So who are we going to send it to? How are we going to send it? So I'm going to resolve that by putting in the unsubscribe link. Where is my unsubscribe? Need a footer. Header. I need a footer. Where is it? Footer. So I'll put like this in here. It's got like an unsubscribe link in it. So it's drag and drop it over. Now it's got an unsubscribe link. So I'm done editing. Let's save it and I'm ready to go. So now I'm ready to go. What do I do? Who do I want to send it to? So same as Mailchimp, all my active subscribers, or I want to send it to a particular group. The group is subscribers. I've got nobody in there at present, so it's not going to really send it to anyone to begin with. But hell, we can put it together anyway. We can have welcome now newsletter as our what we're sending it as, and then off it goes. We can schedule that to go. We don't have an active account yet, so I can't send that because you need to activate the account and upgrade the plan in order to send it to someone. So it's got one recipient in my group that it's going to send through to. So I would schedule this normally and send it at a specific time and date, but I can't do that just at the moment because I need to upgrade my plan and verify everything to say that I'm not a scammer or a spammer. So we can't grant that because I still, because sending access can't be granted at the moment because I haven't gone through that verification process. So once I do that, then I'll be able to do that. So how are we going? So far, we've looked at Mailchimp, we've looked at MailerLite. There's some other little systems I can show you right now, including a little bit, if you can hang around with me for a little bit longer, because this hour has absolutely flown. We're going to have a very quick look at ActiveCampaign, but imagine ActiveCampaign does pretty much the same thing. It's just a little bit of a prettier interface. And then SendinBlue is much the same. I've just been told with the bosses, I can't go over time because we're running much over, but if you'd like to look at any of those a little bit further, we can certainly look at those at a different time. And perhaps if you wanted to look specifically at one of those systems, please do reach out to me at dante@businessstation.com.au. And I'm more than happy to have a quick little 15, 20 minutes to show you around those particular systems if that's really important to you. But as a little hint, they look kind of the same as what the other guys do. All the stuff's down the left-hand side that tells you where to go and what to do. And then on the right-hand side, you do all the designing and all the organization. So it's not a hard thing to do, really, to be able to send out these campaigns and start with your email automation. I may have been a little bit ambitious trying to squeeze in a description and a demo of all 4 systems. So sorry if we weren't able to cover all 4 of them. But what I can do is finish it up and say, hey, let's look at what we can do and what a good set of tips would be for you to continue on from here. Number one, what you want to do is make sure you map out what you want to achieve before you pick your system. They're all pretty much the same. They do all much the same stuff, but you do need to understand the rules and the laws around spam activity. The Spam Act of 2003, which is a Commonwealth law, is worth looking at. It's not really a long read. It's really simple. Basically, don't spam people. Most systems look much the same, and make every one of those emails well and truly count. You really do want to make that work. If you haven't taken advantage of your 3 hours of private coaching for $44 yet, please do that, because you get unlimited online learning, unlimited all the access to our workshops and webinars we've ever done in the last 4 years. All you need to do, $44 at this address, digitalsolutions.businessstation.com.au, and it's going to be finishing off at the end of March, this program. We don't know whether we're picking up in the next bit, but if we are, I'll see you for another 3 years. If not, well, you never know. I might be on that program as well. Thank you so much for joining me, reaching out to me. You can do at Business Station through my email address. LinkedIn is where I'm most active, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on all of them. So please reach out, ask questions if you need to. In the meantime, you have a fantastic week, and may every Monday be as awesome as this Monday has been. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.